Why am I so out of breath? Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Madison, and today I have a handful of plants that I want to talk to you guys about that I feel like I just don't hear about anymore. I used to see them all over social media with these gorgeous photos on Instagram, and now they're like nowhere to be seen. Where did they go? What happened to these plants? I do have my own theories for a few of these plants, which we will definitely go over today, but you're definitely going to want to leave your own comments down below in the description in the comments, because I'm really curious as to what you guys think, especially if you have like maybe had some of these plants in the past and decided not to grow them anymore for whatever reason. Let us know why so that we can go forward with, as much knowledge as possible if we decide we want to try and grow these plants. So let's just dive on in here. The first plant that I want to talk to you guys about today is going to be the Philodendron Burlmarks Fantasy. I'm going to have pictures of all of these plants because I don't think I have any of these, maybe just a couple. But the Burlmarks Fantasy, I used to see all the time. It's a gorgeous kind of smaller, at least it can be smaller, philodendron. Some maybe say that you could grow it in a terrarium, although I have seen specimens that grow quite large. So I think it just kind of depends on your growing conditions and all of that. I personally would want to try and grow this guy large, although I don't know if it would lose that kind of like silvery sparkliness once it gets larger, like the Monstera dubia kind of does. But either way, it's a gorgeous philodendron. I don't hear about it anymore ever. Where'd it go? Like, it's so weird. And I've looked online. I always am checking on Etsy and stuff like that, just in case like maybe the price went down. Maybe I can scoop one up for a super reasonable price, but prices are kind of all over the place. Like, I'm seeing a few listings on Etsy that are like over $100 for a very, very small plant or like a cutting, or somewhere between like $20 and $50 for anywhere between like a small cutting or a plant with a few leaves maybe. So it just kind of seems all over the place. I'm not really sure what to think about it. What do you guys think about it? Because it's on my wish list for sure. It's been on there for quite a while, but I just don't see it anymore. No one talks about it anymore. Do you have it in your collection? Does anyone? And they're just like not really talking about it. Maybe it's gotten boring or something after a while growing it. I'm not really sure, but I'm really curious to know what you guys think. Okay, before I get started on the next plant, just so you know, I did just take a little break. So if I'm a little bit weird in the frame, a little different, or if I look a little less polished, it's because I just made and ate a delicious big old dinner of vegan biscuits and gravy, which was so yummy. But anyway, yeah, the next plant that I want to talk to you guys about today is going to be the Pilea peperomioides. Peperomioides, I think that's how you say it. It's a mouthful, and it used to be absolutely everywhere. And for a while, it was pretty pricey too, if I remember, like back in like 2020, maybe 2019, it was a pretty pricey plant. Like I'm talking like $40 to $50 for like a pretty small plant, not like, elbow monstera crazy prices, but still significantly higher than what you can find these plants for today. Now I would say you could find this plant for like $5 for like a good sized plant, maybe $10 for a good sized plant. But yeah, it's much less expensive now than it used to be, which is fantastic. But at the same time, I don't hear about them ever anymore. And personally for me, I think it's because it is so difficult to grow. At least for me it was. I tried to grow this plant when I first started collecting plants back in early or late like 2019, something like that. And oh my pizza pie, did that sucker die so quickly. And okay, not so quickly. It would feel like it was actually a pretty slow, painful death, because I just was like really wanting to hold on to that sucker for as long as possible. But alas, there was no hope. He was a goner, which I'm going to talk about my issues with peperomia in another video here soon, because yeah, I don't think I have a single one. Maybe I do. I don't think I do though. And there's a reason for that. So we'll get into that later. But I personally think that this is just a tricky plant to grow. Very, very picky with its conditions. I honestly couldn't tell you what they want. I am not sure. I never really figured it out, and I don't really care to at this point. It's a beautiful plant. I love it when other people have this plant in their collection. I love to admire it from afar, but just not up close in my personal collection. So yeah, I feel like I never see this plant anymore. Do you guys feel the same way about this, or do you feel like it's still being talked about a lot? I just feel like it kind of dropped off the radar. Maybe once it started like really coming out in big box stores, it kind of started dropping off the radar a little bit. But I don't know. I just don't really know what to think about this one because I feel like it is really, really beautiful. And I do still see this plant everywhere. I see it in my Trader Joe's and my other grocery stores. I see it in my local nurseries all the time. And yeah, they don't seem to have like gone anywhere physically, but social media-y, they seem to have vanished. So what do you think's up with that? Do you think it's the same thing I do where it's like just kind of difficult to take care of, so people are like, let's not promote it so much maybe? But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Okay, the next plant I actually do have to show you. So let me grab it really quick. Okay, so he may not be he got spider mites, so he's definitely not the best example to show you. But my next plant that I want to talk to you guys today about is the Philodendron Brandiana. I feel like this plant, like all the others, used to be talked about all the time on social media, especially Instagram. That's really like the main social media that I personally use. I don't have TikTok. Maybe that makes me old. I don't know. I'm intimidated by it. I'm not really interested. I use Facebook a little bit. I don't post on there, but I like use it for the Facebook planty groups. But on those, I don't see this plant talked about either. And again, this is the Philodendron Brandianum, or the Brandy. It's such a pretty plant. Really, really pretty. It's one of those kind of like trailing philodendron. It's I believe it is like a type of heteroecium. If not, it certainly looks like it, and it definitely grows like it. I see some people like trailing this guy up, and some people just like letting it grow in like a full hanging basket, which is beautiful, but I don't really see them talked about at all, period. I would say I used to see them growing in those different ways, but not so much anymore. I don't feel like I really see these guys talked about ever. And honestly, they're like kind of more mature, rare sister, the Philodendron like Soderoy, maybe the Majestic kind of. I don't feel like I really hear those talked about much either, which is kind of weird because they are gorgeous. And from what I hear, they're also pretty easy to grow. Now, as far as the brandy goes, for me personally, it's not the easiest. I don't know why. I have obviously cut mine up into a bunch of cuttings. The roots actually look pretty darn good. The water is disgusting because I just like refill this little guy. I don't really change it, which maybe I should. But yeah, it's always been a little bit difficult to grow for me. It seems like maybe it needs extra humidity or something like that. So I think after I get the spider mite situation taken care of on this, I'm going to toss it. My dogs just got back from a potty. I think I'm going to toss this into my grow tent and see if they grow any better, because honestly, I took these cuttings quite a while ago. Like you can see the roots are pretty well established, but there's not much growth happening here. The leaves like to get stuck all the time, like all the time. So again, maybe that's one of the reasons that people don't really talk about this plant so much, because it's just kind of a brat. I don't know. Again, let me know what you guys, oh, I splashed on myself. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'm really interested to hear what you think. Do you own this plant too, and do you struggle with it like I do? Because yikes. Is this just like a plants I struggle with video? No, I haven't had all these plants, but I wish. Oh, and on that brandy note too, price-wise, they used to be a little bit pricier, and now they've definitely come down in price. So maybe that's kind of a trend with some of these guys, with the exception of the Burlmarks Fantasy, although that did also used to be much more expensive. But like I said, I'm still seeing some pretty high prices on that one. So yeah, maybe the kind of slightly lowering price has something to do with these plants kind of falling off the social media train. But personally, I would prefer it if something is going down in price, people talk about it more. Come on now, let the people know. The next plant that I have to talk to you guys about today, I do actually have, but it is too large and like kind of attached to my wall in a couple spots. So I'm not going to bring it in here, but it is going to be the Cebu Blue Pothos, or maybe I'll put it over here. I don't know where I'm going to put the pictures here, but the Cebu Blue Pothos, that sucker used to be everywhere, everywhere. It was here, and it was here, and it was here, and it was here, It was everywhere. And now it's nowhere. I feel like the only person I ever hear talk about the Cebu blue is the lovely, amazing, gorgeous Jackie from Jack's Jungles. Jack's Jungle. There we go. And that's just because I think she's got a gorgeous giant specimen that is growing on her tree, like in her back or front yard or something. And so it's like not your normal everyday household Cebu blue. It's like growing in the wild basically. So that's kind of a different situation. I feel like I don't really see people talking about their Cebu blue or showing off their Cebu blue in their house as like a normal beautiful trailing house plant or even as like a climbing house plant. Very, very rare that I see that, and I miss it because it's such a unique, gorgeous plant, and really you can do so many different things with it. Like I said, you can either have it growing or trailing. You can do whatever you want with it. And if it does start to grow up and start like, fenestrating, that's the word I'm looking for, and getting those aerial roots really working and attaching to whatever surface you have it like, attached to and growing up, the leaves get so, so incredibly beautiful, and it kind of like turns into a different looking plant almost. So I don't know. I feel like it should be talked about more like it used to be back in the day. And again, like so many of these plants, I'm finding them much, much, much more inexpensive at our local like big box stores and stuff like that. So definitely keep your eye out for Cebu blue if you are interested in one and you like haven't heard about them for some reason, because like I said, you should have, because they're gorgeous and it's a pothos, so it's so, so easy to take care of. I guess I shouldn't just say it's a pothos so it's easy, because there is a pothos that I feel like is not easy. Maybe we'll talk about it one day. But yeah, because the Cebu blue in particular is a kind of pothos that is just like an easygoing fella, it grows so, so nicely. So it's one that I really recommend, especially for like beginning plant parents. So yeah, if you haven't heard about it, check it out. And if you have heard about it like way back in the day and you're not hearing about it anymore, why do you think? Because it doesn't fall into the category of like any of the other ones that I've hit so far where it's like kind of tricky to grow. It's not. It's so, so easy. So I don't know, maybe people just like forget about it because it's kind of a set it and forget it plant. Like it'll just do its thing. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Okay, the next plant is actually going to be a like section of plants, and that's going to be the string of. I feel like way back early 2020s, maybe even like 2021, you were seeing so many different beautiful string of plants. Now, I'm going to say specifically like string of pearls, I feel like really had its moment there for quite a while. They were everywhere. They were lush and beautiful. The tops of them were gorgeous. The bottoms of them were gorgeous. They were just like amazing specimens, and it seemed like everyone had one. And then they started getting the variegated string of pearls, and everyone started growing those, just absolutely gorgeous. And then, the string of hearts and the variegated versions of those, and then all the different varieties of the string of hearts, like the spades and all those different ones, really were talked about for quite a while. And they were gorgeous, and everyone made it seem oh so easy to take care of them. But I personally had a really hard time taking care of them, at least when I first started. String of pearls, I've never gotten the hang of. I have gotten the hang of some other string of plants that I do have in my collection that I really enjoy, but I don't hear about them anymore. So I don't like really get the inspiration as much to take care of them like maybe I should. And that's kind of the thing too here with plants like not being spoken about as much or shown off as much, is that it kind of like, I don't know, maybe this is a me thing. Let me know if this is just a me thing. But when I don't really see plants like out in the world, you know what I mean? Whether that's in the world on my phone or out like in my physical world, I don't know. They get a little bit less exciting for me sometimes, but when I see someone else growing a beautiful specimen of a plant that I maybe have that's like a little bit smaller, maybe a little sad, or even if it's looking really great, seeing that other person growing a beautiful specimen and just like really enjoying their plant gives me like, I don't know, gives me the warm fuzzies inside and makes me want to like have that same feeling towards my own plant that I already have in my collection, and therefore makes me want to take care of it so much better and just like see that plant get to like its best, you know what I mean? So let me know if that's like a me thing or if you guys kind of feel that same way too. But yeah, I feel that with like my string of plants, I'm not seeing them anywhere, and I don't know. It makes me kind of sad. I feel like they should be talked about more, just like all of these plants pretty much on here. I don't really think, maybe one. I don't really think there are many that like shouldn't be talked about because they really are so beautiful and varied. And I feel like especially nowadays, there are so many different varieties of the string of plants. Like I can't even name them all. There's string of spades, string of arrows, string of bananas, string of hearts, variegated string of hearts, probably variegated string of all those other ones. Like there are so many that I don't even know. Silver glory just popped in my head. There are so many. And I feel like people probably don't know about them unless they are actively searching for them. But if you're just like looking at plants in general on Instagram or something like that, you might not be seeing all of those beautiful options that are out there. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think about the string of plants. Are you seeing them? Am I just not seeing them? Let me know. All right, so my next plant is gonna be one of the ones that I feel like maybe deserves to not be like shown off so much on social media as it has not been so much lately like it was maybe a year or two past where it was shown off all the time, very consistently. Everyone was excited about this plant, and now people are kind of like, eh, eh, maybe we won't. So that plant is going to be the Philodendron Birkin. I actually have this plant. Let me show her to you. Mine's looking a little sad. She was outside for the summer, so you can see like, you know, we got a little burnt here. She's a little wonky. She's reaching, doing all the funny philodendron things, you know what I mean? But she does pup frequently, so that's pretty cool. But, oh, I kicked you. I'm so sorry. I don't even know how you're sitting now. Hopefully we're okay. But yeah, the Philodendron Birkin, it's just, I don't know. It's really cool. It's really beautiful. It is very eye-catching, especially for people who aren't necessarily like into plants. This is a plant that's going to catch someone's eye for sure. And I think that is probably why we were hearing about it so much when it first came out onto like the plant scene, is because like, I mean, look at it. It's pretty cool looking. You got to give it to it. But yeah, I mean, it is a really cool, interesting looking plant with like the vertical striping along the whole leaf, kind of starting at the midrib and working its way out. It is a very striking plant, but ooh, I don't hear about it anymore. I do feel like I said, I do feel like this is kind of earned. And the reason I say that is because it's kind of a wonky grower. As you can see here, I feel like it is also like a very manufactured feeling plant. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like it was really like laboriously put together in a lab or something. I don't know. I feel like that sounds really silly, but oh, pull that off of here. He's not doing super great. I keep him like far off in a corner. But yeah, it just kind of grows really funky. It does definitely like to revert, as you can see on some of these like bottom leaves down here. Very much so like green, although we are getting a little bit of that striping there. Maybe the striping comes more once it gets a little bit larger or something, but then most people find, and myself, that once it does start getting a little bit larger, you do start to kind of notice a lot of reversion. Reversion? A lot of reverting. The plant likes to revert, let's just say that. So it'll kind of, I don't know, I've seen it do all kinds of different things where the plant leaves will just go all white, and then obviously that sucker's gonna die off, or it'll get these like giant, almost red looking sections on it, and then like dark green sections, and then eventually the entire leaf, and then eventually the entire plant will just kind of go all green. And that's not really much to write home about. You know what I mean? He's not my favorite. So I do feel like the fact that we're not seeing this spoken about kind of really at all on social media is well earned. So do you agree with me on that? Let me know. Let me know what you think on the Philodendron Birkin. It is a pretty cool plant. It's cool to look at. I think I am going to gift this to one of my coworkers because it is really interesting to look at. It's like a cool eye-catching plant. It kind of keeps you interested because you don't know which leaf is going to do what, because it is maybe technically variegated, maybe not. I don't know. There might be a variegated Birkin. I'm going to Google that. If there is, I'll pop a picture up somewhere so you can see it. But I don't even think that I would be very interested in the variegated Birkin. And clearly, if it does exist, no one's really interested in it because I have not heard about it ever, not from anyone. And I feel like I listen to a lot of the like prominent and even like lesser known plant people, whether that's on YouTube or Instagram. I follow a ton of people and no one has spoken about the Birkin or a variegated Birkin in a long time. Variegated Birkin, not like ever, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, let me know. Do you agree with this one? I feel like that might be kind of spicy. Maybe not. Maybe everyone's going to agree with me. Let me know what you think. All right, the last plant or plants that I want to talk to you guys about today that I feel like we used to see or hear about, talked about, posted about on social media all the time is going to be ficus. Ficus kind of like as a general, but in particular the like ruby rubber tree, which is like your standard burgundy rubber tree that is just absolutely gorgeous. It's such a staple. Everyone should probably have one at least at some point. And then there's like the Ficus altissima, the Ficus Audrey, the Tanique. There are so many beautiful ficus. They're so hardy. I mean, they can be a little bit tricky to figure out at first, but then really once you get them figured out, they are a very hardy plant. And they used to be all over the place. Everyone wanted to talk about them. Everyone wanted one. And everyone was growing like a giant one somewhere in their house, you know? And it was just like so cool to see, so inspiring to see that like what these plants could turn into. And now I'm not seeing it so much. And again, all of this is like totally going to be kind of like subjective to what I am shown based on my personal algorithms or whatever on my social media. So this could all be totally different for you, but I don't see them talked about ever anymore. And I really miss it, honestly, because like I love a giant plant. I'm a big plant loving lady. Like they're just my favorite. I love a big statement, and a big beautiful ficus can really make just such a gorgeous statement. Why do you think they have them in all those big old fancy hotels and stuff? They have them in malls and airports, and that's because they make a statement. They're gorgeous and they are pretty freaking hardy. Again, like I said, once you like get the care situation, you know, figured out, they're really hardy and pretty easy to take care of. So yeah, why don't we hear about them? Where did they go? I don't know for this one, because this one it's like, it's not like a Pilea peperomioides where it's really hard to get that like watering and everything just right. And it's not like, what's the other one? It's not like a Philodendron Brandy where like the leaves are going to get stuck coming out and it's going to be like a really wonky, weird grower. It doesn't really do any of those things. I would say like the biggest issue that people may have with ficus is kind of getting that watering schedule down or like figuring out where to put it. Really, that's what it is. Figuring out where it's going to be happiest in your home and then figuring out that you like have to leave it there. Like don't move it. Then it's going to be really easy to take care of. But maybe those reasons, you know, could kind of deter people and make people like not really want to talk about them so much. But even so, that's a pretty small thing, I feel like, for a plant to have for an issue. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I'm going to leave this video at that. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this one. It was kind of random. Just something that I've been thinking about for a while. Like, what happened to all these plants that I used to hear about? You know what I mean? Why is no one talking about these plants? So I just wanted to share my thoughts with you guys. Definitely, again, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm so interested to hear what you have to say. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.